What is up? And we are live. The West Virginia Mountaineers schedule came out today, and the road to the Big 12 championship begins. The offseason is upon us officially, in my opinion. I think the schedule coming out the day this happens every year is when I really start to hone in on that 20, 24, 25, 23, whenever year that was season. And this year is the 2024 season. Extremely stoked about this season. I think a lot of us, probably since 2018, 16, 18, somewhere in there, haven't been as excited for a season probably since the Tennessee opening game with Will Greer and those guys. So, and that was a fun year, even though we didn't do all everything we wanted to do. I really enjoyed that year. Welcome into this live edition of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Get yourself settled. I see a few of you guys are already in here. Timothy Green, thank you, my brother. Mountain of the Mountains, Tyler Cobb, Kenny Evans. What's up, guys? There just ain't nothing to talk about, you know? Coos and I both have been struggling with content here the last couple weeks. It's that time of year, and you feel this pressure to get something up every single day. And it's tough, man. So days like this you relish whenever something like this comes out. So I'm excited the schedule came out today, something to actually talk about. So this is an October loaded schedule. I mean, I think that's probably was my first impression when I looked at it. And every other month on the schedule, you've got between one hard and one medium game or one hard and one easy game. And let's just have a look at it right off the bat. Actually, let's talk about Dutch Miller first. Big day coming up on the 6th for Chris, who is my channel sponsor. I can't speak for Coos on this one, but for me, although I think Coos agrees, but I can't be sure. I'm a big fan of Chris Miller, guys. I know that he is, um, you know, he's fighting against I guess you can consider him the underdog in this, but I really, man, he's a great dude, and if you are conservative at all, considers, I would consider him if I were you. I am just now in my life getting into politics a little bit, and trying to figure out what's best for me. But I know just as a person, Chris has been awesome to me. So just really want to appreciate that and talk about Dutch Miller, guys, because he's a super good dude. All right. This episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing, and they're ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory. It's across the state of West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. All right, guys. Let's have a look-see here at this schedule, and then I'll get to your comments and stuff here in just a moment. So this is obviously the one the football team put up earlier. I think, it starts with Penn State, and then, obviously Pitt is in that first month of September, and so is Kansas. And I think, to me, the first month of the season is probably the second hard. It's going to end up being it's going to be close between this month and October, in my opinion. They're going to be the hardest month of the season for us. Because Penn State's technically August anyway, but I mean, it's almost like a September game. It's one day away, right? I don't know if you put that one on an island or if you just count it away from September, but I count, since we're going to count them in groups of 4 here, and one group of 3. So, in my opinion, the Penn State, Albany, Pitt, and Kansas game is in contention for the hardest grouping, along with the stretch, obviously, with Iowa State, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. And these are all back-to-back games. You know, it's rough, man. The November obviously this gets easier in November for us. Although I do think Texas Tech, UCF, and Baylor, all three should be better teams this year, along with Cincinnati. But I mean, if you're just looking at these groupings, I don't know, man. If you want to tell me, I mean, you look at October, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State, and Arizona. Sorry, it's hard for me to see on the screen just a little bit. That to me is trumps Penn State, Albany, Pitt, and Kansas. But it's not by a landslide because Kansas, what's kind of odd is they lose Kotelnicki, their offensive coordinator. He ends up in Penn State. And so all those great offense have been running in Kansas for the last few years. Is be doing and done in Happy Valley now. And how does Kansas look? They've still got Leipold there, and I think they're probably going to be really good again. They've got their quarterback coming back as well. A lot of people like him as a possible Heisman contender if he can stay healthy, which is kind of what happened again this year. So it's going to be, it's going to be rough, guys. And I know a lot of people are predicting 10-2, and some people predicting 12-0. And I mean, we're homers. We're all homers. It's not like we're looking at this thing objectively. So, and maybe some of you try, and I applaud you, but I honestly can't look at this thing without bias. You give so much of your time to something, and you're a little biased. But with that said, I do try to take my bias out of it from time to time, and I'm going to do that with today's schedule as best as I can. But I just think it's impossible to take all the bias out, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at anyway. No, Kenny. There seems to be one issue after the other with this game. So I'm just, I've got my eye on other games right now. They're not sports related, but if you play video games at all, the next 2 months are the biggest months of the year for some really good games being released this year. So yeah, midseason gauntlet, like Mouth of the Mountain says. So if I had to take a guess, if you asked me to go through this schedule and pick win or loss in every game, I really feel like the Penn State game is probably going to be it's probably going to be 6.5 for Penn. I'd say 6.5, 7 points Penn State's way. That's based off history. That's based off recent history. That's based off how the teams were last year. And the addition of Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator from Kansas, cannot go understated here. You're going to see a Penn State offense that is much, much, much different than what we've seen out of them. We're not going to know what to expect. Our coaches are going to be looking at Kansas tape, probably Buffalo tape, on back to Wisconsin, Whitewater. I think they were together for 9 years. So, Leipold and Kotelnicki. So, we'll be looking for Kotelnicki if they have a great year in offense to possibly move into head coaching ranks after 1 year with the Penn State. I think it's possible. He's that good of a coach. But anyway, so because we got that game at home, I'll go ahead and say that we win that game by 3 points somehow, but we get really beat up doing it. Albany will be a nice bounce back week for us to just kind of heal. We're going to need it because I think that Penn State game is going to take a lot out of us. And I think maybe we kind of sleep on Albany through the first quarter and look a little sluggish. And then you look at the Pitt game, and I just don't think, Narduzzi has bounced back well while at Pitt. They've never stayed down for more than 1 year. And I think he's going to bring them guys back. He's always got good defensive lines. He's always got good linebacking rooms, and he's always got usually some good secondary pieces. They had some last year. Their defense played phenomenal against us last year. It was their offense, and so they've obviously brought some new pieces in. They're still bringing in new pieces. They brought in a new quarterback again. Um, don't know how that's going to play out, but I do think we get the win over Pitt. The Kansas game, thank God that's at home, because I mean I can remember Puka Williams just not even 6 years ago, man. It's a tough place to play, and ever since they become a good team, man, they have been extremely tough to beat. But I'm going to say we beat Kansas. They're in a transition after losing Koloniki, and I think we do start the season up 4-0. First loss of the season is going to be on the road at Oklahoma State, guys. They've just had our number, and I think if you look at it, let me get back on the screen for a minute so you guys can see me. And then we'll talk about the next four. Head coaching matchup goes to Mike Gundy, and that's no slight to Neal Brown. Neal's building his profile. Mike Gundy's been doing this for a long time at a high level. He did it again last year. He lost to the equivalent of Albany almost last year, not quite as bad, and still ended up in contention for the Big 12 title. And he does it every year. They return everybody. They return Brennan Presley, their dynamic wide receiver. They somehow got Ollie Gordon to return, and everybody wanted him. I thought for sure he'd be in like an Alabama uniform. I don't know about the offensive line. I haven't done my offseason research on them yet, but Alan Bowman returns at quarterback, and he just throws darts. Although he's not a strong arm guy, he does a lot of things good, but nothing great. But he tore us up and picked us apart. So I'm scared of them. And the only thing we can really hope for is they have a similar start to last year, but I don't think that'll happen because they know who they are, and that's Ollie Gordon. I don't ever pray for anybody to be injured, but that would be the game we need him to miss, if at all possible. Because we haven't done a lot on the defensive line. We've got guys coming back that I like. Patoma Malba, Hammond Russell is another guy a lot of people talk about coming up. But I really worry about our run stopping ability next year. The move to the 3-4 base is going to be good. We get a couple linebackers back. We've got some experience in the room. I think our run fits will be better, but the loss of Lee Koba is going to hit us hard too. And so that's a long-winded way of me to say I think Oklahoma State's going to be our first loss, and we start off 4-1. Let's look at a couple of comments before we move on here. Timothy, I'll get to that as we move along, brother. Yeah, I think so too, Tyler. Yeah, that's also true. Somebody asked me to read these. I forgot. Unlike last year, I think the Penn State game is extremely important. If we win, I say we start the season 5-1, losing to Oklahoma State. If we lose to Penn State, I think Pitt and Kansas become a way bigger challenge. Somebody asked me to read the comments because they drive, and I just didn't. I forgot about that. Arthur Clark says he sees 9-3. Edward Walsh said, "Let's go." Timothy Green's over a 10-2 season. Yeah, I think a lot of us are. At least 9 wins again. I know a lot of people will be unhappy with that, but it's realistic as well. How much did Penn State lose from last season? Not a lot. They return everything, man. They return the offensive line mostly. I think they had a guy transfer. I mean, everybody has transfers. Where they were bad last year was the wide receiver room. If they had a elite wide receiver room last year, they're probably a college football playoff team. They had an elite top 25 defense. They had a better than average running game. They had a really young quarterback that can make all the throws. They just didn't have anybody really to throw it to. They've got really good tight ends, a couple top 50 guys out of high school that they're really going to lean on again this year. And then they had the two running backs in Singleton and Katron Allen that are extremely talented guys, and would start for anybody else in the country singularly alone. So almost anybody. So it's a huge ask to play against them, and they just have 4 and 5 star guys all over the field. So I'm going to go just off the top of my head and say they probably return 70-ish. I mean, they're similar to us. They return like almost as much as we do. So, and they were a top 15 team all year last year. So I think a lot of people mark that Penn State game up as a win, but Drew Aller, as a young sophomore quarterback who really hadn't played a bunch till last year, threw 3 picks all year, and that's just a really impressive feat. And you saw some of the throws he made against us. He didn't blow everybody out of the water, but personally, they just didn't have a receiver. So, but yeah, Penn State returns a lot. They're going to be tough to beat. We're lucky we get them at home. That's going to play a factor. But I don't know, no offense to us. I think we have one of the best home stadiums in the Big 12, certainly, and definitely a top 25 stadium in the country. But we don't compare to Happy Valley, you know? And so I don't know. I mean, I know it's not the same, but they're used to dealing with noise in Big Ten stadiums. I mean, they go to Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, freaking Illinois is a 70,000 seat stadium. Like everywhere they go is loud. I just don't know how much of a home field advantage is going to be in that game. Obviously, for our offense, it's going to be a big deal, but I don't know how much we're going to affect them. Tyler Cobb says, "Do we think if WVU ends up in the preseason top 5, which I believe we will, College Day is a possibility at the Penn State game?" I actually have a video planned on this, Tyler. I have to go in. I haven't done my research on it yet, but it basically comes down to what's the date? August 31st, right? The August 31st date in the college football season. Who else is playing that day? Because I think Penn State, West Virginia ranked matchup would be a great game day. In week 4, after we're both, 3-1, 4-1, 4-0, I think it'd be a bigger deal, but it's hard to say. I'm gonna have to do that research and see who else plays on the same day as us. So if anybody knows in the comments, let me know. What's up, Lidsel? What's up, Sasquatch? Haven't seen you in a bit, man. So don't forget about the super chat button, guys. As always, if you want to donate to the channel, I'd like to mention that once a show. You got to do your due diligence on these things, so you can get your name in there, thrown in as a part of the conversation. You can direct the conversation any direction you want to go. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below after the fact if you're watching this show after it goes live. If you can't tell, my allergies are bothering me somehow in January. Used to be you didn't have to worry about them until the spring. But man, I'll tell you what, this rain the last few days has absolutely been slaughtering me on the allergies. So apologies for that. So for those of you Polar Bear Hunting, thank you for coming to the show, by the way. So we left off at 4-1, right? After the first 5 games, and having a first loss to Oklahoma State, could very well be 3-2 here. And I think that's probably, if you were going to place money down, I think, statistically speaking, my heart doesn't say this, but statistically, we're favored to lose 2 of those first 5 games, maybe 3, if you consider Kansas. But I think we'll be at least 4-1 here, possibly 3-2, but I think 4-1. So Iowa State's a tricky game. A lot of people just have us chalked up to beating them. They return a quarterback that set a bunch of records for them last year, and somebody we know very well, Anthony Becht's son, Rocco Becht. And he really came on strong last year after being so young early on. And they're building around the kid. They always play extremely good defense there. Um, don't count them out of a dark horse contending type team next year. It's not going to be an easy game. No Big 12 game is. I think we win that game based off of returning experience. Kansas State could be, one of the toughest games on our schedule. Avery Johnson, the 4-star Nico Marchiol type recruit that they had in the offseason last year, was a freshman last year, and played in the bowl game and looked extremely good. He's a true dual threat, long striding, just elite running quarterback. And here they go again with another really good quarterback. They were able to let their quarterback, Will Howard, go to Ohio State. And probably could have had him back, but they chose. That's how you know how good this kid is. And if you don't know who he is, familiarize yourself with the first name Avery for a guy, because that's who this kid is. And he's going to be special for them. So, and they've always got, obviously, number 31 is just the most underrated back in the league, in my opinion. I think he had 1,500 yards last year. Kansas State's going to be a tough out. I'm going to say we sneak by there somehow. It's at home. It's the second game of a 2-game homestand, right? And then the Arizona game happens. And I'll tell you guys, I'm a big, big, big Noah Fifita fan. And he's basically a leveled up Garrett Green to me. That's what he looks like. He looks like what Garrett is, even though he's younger. He does everything Garrett does, just a little bit better as of right now. Now, Garrett can level up and outdo that. But this kid is a 4.3 40, throwing it deep. He's an excellent player. So, you have a quarterback of the stature of him, and he's, already one of the front runners to win the Heisman next year. Unbelievable, So, Noah Fifita's had this meteoric rise to relatively unknown player to who he is today, and they also got their number one receiver, who is probably the best receiver in college football, coming back next year. So on paper, they lost a lot of players to the transfer portal, and they've had a coaching change. So does that offset? Because if Jedd Fisch is still there, Arizona is last year's Texas, basically, without that defense. I don't think they had quite as good a defense as Texas, the front that they had. But as far as, oh yeah, that's the team that's going to probably win the Big 12. That's who Arizona was going to be. And all of a sudden now there's these questions. They've got the San Jose guy coming in. A lot of people say that Brennan has knocked that thing out of the park. It's going to be really interesting to see how Arizona handles this transition and the expectations. You go from coaching San Jose State to coaching Arizona in what could be the best team they've ever had, even with the losses. Unbelievable stuff. Sasquatch, man. It's been a channel member for 4 months. Like, sub, and shop Dutch Miller Automotive. That's a true blue member right there, man. I appreciate that, Sasquatch. I really do. He also is in the name Hall of Fame with Sasquatch. It really doesn't get much better than that. And then throw the West Virginia area code in for good measure. Tyler Cobb. So the biggest matchups I could find are Florida versus Miami, Georgia versus Clemson, Notre Dame versus Texas A&M, and LSU versus USC. Yeah, that's going to be. We're probably not beating any of those games out. Yeah, I mean, Florida, Miami, we probably could beat out. Georgia versus Clemson is going to be a top 25 matchup as well. Notre Dame versus Miami or versus Texas A&M. It's Notre Dame, and they're going to be good again next year. But Texas A&M's in a transition. I don't know that they would get a game day. LSU versus USC has got game day written all over it. Uh, we've got to so obviously we've got some contention there. I think it depends on where we're ranked and where Penn State's ranked. We obviously need Penn State to be ranked as highly as possible, because they a lot of times they especially in the first week of the year, weeks of the year, they tend to kind of drift towards the highest ranked team because that's obviously that's the smartest thing you can do. The highest ranked team on, and I would love to see that happen. But check it out. Actually, if you look at our schedule again, we've got some real shots at home. Um, what's funny is we could end up doing a game day at Pitt, if both teams start out 3-0. But that Kansas game could be a sneaky game day type game where both teams are 3-0 heading into that day. And then the Kansas State game could be one. If we're undefeated or have one loss going into that game, I think you look at two teams that are 6-1, 7-0, going to, or 6-1, 7-0 going to that game. Kansas State is a really sneaky one. And then I'll give you one more just for good measure, like just a what if type situation. If Gus Malzahn has the talent, I have no doubt in his coaching ability. Look out for UCF. Maybe we get a crazy Week 12 game day in Morgantown because we're relevant for the Big 12 championship game. You never know what could happen, but certainly I think the ones I've pointed out there would all be possibilities. And I mean, we show up and show out for game day, and they know that. But we have to give them a reason to, unfortunately. We're not the Buckeyes, the Suckeyes, Ohio Stink. Enjoy the chin wagon. Appreciate that, Eddie. Edward Walsh. Yeah, man, I appreciate you doing that for the membership, Sasquatch, dude. That it just means a lot to me, man. As a person that has a medium-sized channel, it's hard to get people to sign up, so it means a ton, man. So let's get back to the schedule. Um, Start pointing out some more of these games here. So where are we? I think I had us at. I think I have us at. I think it has beating Kansas State and losing to Arizona. So we're talking 1-0. So we're 7-2 or 6-2. I've lost count here, haven't I, guys? 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 6-2. So 6-2 after the Arizona game. I think we beat Cincinnati, although you just never know. I mean, Satterfield really turned Louisville around that last year, which was wild. He kind of caught the he built that team that was in the ACC championship game last year. That was his team. So I think we beat Baylor to go 8-2, UCF to go 9-2. 10-2 looks pretty legit, but I think obviously I'm going to be wrong somewhere. So my heart says 10-2. My gut says 9-3 again. Um, I think both would be something to be proud of, and both could possibly get you in the Big 12 championship game, even with. So, absolutely, Sasquatch. Appreciate that. He said he spread the love and support the hometown crew. Philip Anderson, thank you for coming to the channel again, brother. He said Green must stay healthy with that gauntlet. Yeah, I think so, but I think Nico can. I've been told Nico has taken several steps forward. Remember, he was just a redshirt freshman last year, and most people think his ceiling is higher. Uh, you know, I saw some stuff today, guys. Did you guys know that Garrett Green had a top 10 all time rushing season last year for a quarterback? Top 10. He tied for 10th all time rushing yards and touchdowns last season with 13 and right around 800 yards rushing. That's a top 10 all time season on the ground. So he's a special player, and he missed time. What would he have done had he not missed time? What would he have done had the offense clicked sooner? It's hard to say. Had we not started out with Braham and Aaron, which is another thing that worries me about this coaching staff, it seems like they miss on starters quite a bit. They lean towards experience too often. Whereas Rich Rod and Dana too would go, they would throw in freshmen immediately. And sometimes it burns you, sometimes it don't. But maybe that'll change now that they've got a little bit of traction again and they're not fighting for their jobs every week. We'll see. Oh yeah, they're not washed up at all. Not at all. They've got the best quarterback in the conference, most would say. They've got a quarterback anybody would love to have that is extremely dangerous. If you haven't gone and watched Noah Fafita play, he's kind of like Kyler Murray. I think that's a good comparison. He's not as polished a passer as Murray yet, but that's the trajectory he's on. And he can run it like Murray too at that 4.3 speed. So just a dangerous player. He's one of these. I'm assuming he's Samoan, but I don't know that for sure. Those guys are just such incredible athletes, man. It seems like every one of them. So yeah, Arizona's a scary squad. It's possible, Tyler. We just have to hope we have a TCU type season where it's just special, and we we beat some teams we shouldn't beat. We win a bunch of one score games, because that's basically what it takes to be having a special season. We're gonna have to win at least 10 games to get in the college football playoff. Would we get an at-large bid with 10 wins if we don't win the conference championship? I would be worried, but we would have to have that. We would have to have an Arizona and a Penn State win on the record resume, and just kind of hope those teams win a bunch of games. You know, but certainly beating a Big Ten team would go a long way. And then beating an Arizona team, it kills me how much love these Pac-12 teams are getting coming into the Big 12. And I've looked at a bunch of lists, and these lists are all people like me making them. But still, this is basically they're projecting most would consider the national opinion on all this, and all the Pac-12 guys are getting love over us. And what's crazy is, to me, the best quarterback in the conference is definitely, it's not Noah Fafita. Uh, when I said earlier he was the best quarterback in the conference, I just mean that's what most people view him as. In my opinion, it's Shedeur Sanders, and a lot of people hate that opinion. But I watched him. He got hit more than almost any quarterback in college football history last year, and do what he did and have just an excellent season. And he can make every throw. He's extremely accurate, and he's mobile within the pocket. And I'm telling you, he's going to be a star. NFL, wherever you want to put him, he's really similar to Deshaun Watson. Um, that's who he reminds me of, when he was at Clemson. So or maybe like a trying to think like a similar to like a Teddy Bridgewater type player, something like that. Somebody who's not extremely mobile but makes a lot of throws with, but he's got a way prettier arm follow through. Edward Walsh had strong schedule this year. I can only wonder how many teams play two D1 teams outside of conference play. Well, last year it was us in Colorado. So I would say probably us in Colorado again this year, because these schedules are made so far in advance, unless Colorado's dropped off their schedule. West Virginia, which there's another video down the line I was thinking about, looks like we're trying to drop Alabama from our future series, which isn't exactly stupid considering the way things are trending. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I'm not for or against playing Alabama. Certainly, we would love to play them and beat them, but at the end of the day, the likelihood is they're going to beat us, right? I mean, we're probably never going to be better than Alabama in any given year. So we can give them a run, but it's most likely a loss, right? Based on recent history. I think Kit DeBoer is going to be fine there. I really do. I think he's a good coach. I don't know if he'll have Nick Saban's success, but we're still going to win 10 games. So we'll see. I think so too, Mouth of the Mountains. They got the 5-star kid on the offensive line that they got out of high school, who will probably start as a true freshman and probably be a freshman All American. If you haven't seen Jordan Seaton, I would trade any player in our roster for the kid they got. That's how good he is. He's like he's a generational. Mel Kiper said that he would be as close to get a one and done as you can get, and he's only in high school as a tackle, you know. So this kid's already bench pressing 450 pounds, squatting 700 pounds. He's an athletic freak. He's like 6'6", 6'7". He's got extremely long arms. He's just one of those guys that are overdeveloped at a young age. So then they picked him up. He's just an incredible talent on the offensive line, and then they plugged holes in the offensive line. It was their only weakness really last year outside on the offense. On defense, they're probably going to be better, but mostly they're going to have secondary pieces. They've already got the best corner in America, so in Hunter. So if they can pick up more offensive pieces, maybe they can designate him. I think he would be so much better just playing one spot. He's great at two, but play him at one and let him be the best player in America at whatever, because he'll be the best receiver or the best corner almost in the country. So, yeah, Colorado's going to be interesting to watch. There are just people attach so many racial things to this situation that it's just football. It doesn't matter whether it's Deion or not to me. All that part I can take it or leave it. But man, they're just such drama queens. you know, the way we've been strong last season really makes that Hail Mary lose a gut punch. Yeah, absolutely. Jim, what's up, brother? Glad you're here late. Better late than never. What makes it worse, Tyler Cobb talking to Phillips says, is I think it beat us twice with the OSU loss, possibly so. Mouth the Mountains, thank God we won't have to play Shadur, not unless it's in a Big 12 championship game. You're right. Welcome in, Jim. Glad to see you here. What's up? What's up, Andrew Smith? Good to see you here, my dude. Andrew Smith says, "What do you guys think? 9-3." Lloyd Atkins has questions of the defense. Who do I think our best pickup of the portal was so far? To me, it's pretty simple and easy. Only one of those guys have the title of All-American next to the name. That's Xavier Bosley, who, if you guys are new to the channel, anybody in here, I'm gloating a little bit, but I got to break the news that he transferred to West Virginia because Xavier let me do that. So he's cool. We're pretty cool with each other. I imagine he'll probably give me updates throughout the season and stuff. So I'll try to keep you guys posted on how the offensive line room is coming on. And I'll probably be pretty plugged into that offensive line room this year, especially. I'm an offensive line guy, anyways, as you guys know. I love talking about the O line. It's what I played, it's what I've studied, and it's probably technically what I know the most about. But um, Xavier Bosley was a freshman All American at Jacksonville State. He learned under the great Rick Trickett, who is, some people consider the greatest offensive line coach of the last 30, 40 years. One of them, and definitely one of them. I mean, Howard Mudd is obviously probably the best. He's in the pros. But if you were talking about the college game, can't go wrong with Rick Trickett and all the things he's done. Go look anywhere. He's put great offensive lines on the field. So Bosley learned under him for a year. Has the freshman All American season. This is a South Charleston kid. He's a West Virginia kid. And to me, he allowed 14 pressures on the year at right tackle spot for Jacksonville State. That's not bad. Now in the Conference USA, it's not elite. It's not exactly great. It's not horrible either. He's just going to have to improve on pass pro a little bit. And he was a freshman, so no doubt he can. And he was an absolute road grading machine in the run game, which is what got him these All American honors that he got. Is he once he locks on, it's over with. He's a literal road grader. So I mean, he's only going to make. He's probably a better run blocker. He's right. He's already close to where Doug was. He's not as good as Doug, but he's a better run blocker than Nick Malone at this point in time. Nick Malone's probably got him in pass pro. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go with that battle. But I think Xavier Bosley is going to win that battle out, and he's going to be our tackle of the future because remember, he'll be protecting Nico Marchiol blindside in the future. So really get excited about Xavier Bosley, guys. I've studied him, and barring any injuries, he's got the potential to be all conference and beyond. So, and we're talking about NFL type players. So we really landed a good one. And look, I mean, his final three were Pitt, UK, and us, and especially UK and the money they have right now. He turned down a lot of money to stay home. Can't talk about how much, but he did turn down money to stay here. And you guys know what they've been building at UK with Davis, Ray Davis, and that running game they had over the year there yet last year was very similar to ours, and I think they were a top 15 rushing offense. So he certainly had reasons he could have gone there, but he stayed home. So that's a very long-winded answer to say Xavier Bosley. But probably a close second for me is a tie between T.J. Crandall, the corner out of Colorado State, who played one whale of a game against Colorado last year, and probably Ty French. I think you guys, if you watch the show, you know my concern with Ty French. But TJ Crandall is a long, lengthy, ball hawking corner who has extremely good ball skills. And think Charles Woods, that's the kind of impact he can have. He's got that ability. And Montre Miller, who everybody seems to have forgotten about, just go, when you get you some time here a little bit, go type in Montre Miller, Kent State highlights. There's about a 5-minute highlight tape out there on Montre Miller, and he's a dog. If he's healthy, I think he'll man the other side of the cornerback. I think he's going to win a cornerback job this year as long as he's healthy. That's off the point. But I think Crandall could be the other guy. Some people think Aiden Garnes from Duquesne. I like Crandall. I think he's got the better upside. Now, Garnes is more ready to play now, so they may go with that. And then Ty French is truly an elite pass rusher. He's got extreme bend off the edge. He's got extreme. He's got a really good rip move that he likes to go under with and bend and try to get to the quarterback's hand. That he does really well with. But unfortunately, the thing with French is he is not a 3-down backer on the outside, and he gets absolutely dominated in the run games. He would probably hate me for saying that, but go put on the tape from FCS guys, and I watched them absolutely bulldoze him with tackles and guards pulling around to his side. So when you hear people talk about Ty French, go do some research and look up. You can go watch any game tape you want from where he played, and you'll see that he really got hurt in the run game. So setting the edge, which is a outside linebacker's kind of job, sometimes is it's not good. Now, can he improve on it? Yes, he's 6'3", but he's only right around. Last I saw, about 220, 230. That's just it's tough. You've got to be really tough to set the edge at outside backer in the 3-4. A lot of times they rely on the 3-4 defensive end to do that. But sometimes the outside backer has to do it too. So that's why Tyron Bradley and guys like that will be obviously swapped, but they're going to play two, so they're going to have to find another guy that can play the run as well. Probably French will be a pass rushing specialist unless he shows to be able to penetrate in the run game instead of because that's sometimes you just make guys miss. You don't have to literally shed the block as much as just you can juke them out. However you get around them. So hope that was a good enough answer for you. Have another year of recruiting under their belt. By the time we play them as well, it's going to be interesting to say the least unless we talk with somebody else. Yes, Philip, statistically, the O-line is the Brady guys. Tyler, a freshman that can come in and make an immediate impact. I'm sorry. I know I'm going back to O-line again, but if you follow me at all on X, you'll know that I am just a big O-line guy. I truly, truly am. And Kyle Altuner, to me, and this is not just me being an O-line guy. Kyle Altuner is the best recruit in our class, and that includes Day Farmer. If you go look at what I've got it here somewhere. Let me find it real quick, and I'll throw it on the screen. I'm sure it's here somewhere anyway. Give me just 1 second, guys. This is about Kyle Altuner. This is from here it is right here. So this is from the director of recruiting at 247 Sports. Okay. There it is. This is about Kyle Altuner, the fundamentally sound offensive line prospect that plays with a mean streak. Spent much of his senior season working at left and right tackle, but projects as an interior offensive lineman at the next level, and actually played some center at the Under Armour All-American game. Doesn't carry much, if any, bad weight, and is entering college somewhere in the ballpark of 6'3", 290, 290 pounds. Quick-footed and rather agile mover that can pull and get to the second level, finishes with authority, and loves to drive his assignments into the ground. Seals even better than most his age, and he flips his hips to gain leverage. Should be viewed as a potential multi-year starter at the Power 5 level and one that could see the field relatively early, given how advanced he is from, hold on, let me get this off the screen first. A technical standpoint, NFL upside if he can keep progressing. So when I've had a few people say, what do you mean Kyle Altuner? Listen, guys, that's the director of scouting at 247 Sports. Kyle Altuner is somehow we pulled him in. Not only was he a 3-star when we got him, he's had another star added to his name. He is now a 4-star player. And think Zach Frazier, guys. This is how good he was. They're very similar players. When I had Kyle on the show, he didn't want to be compared to Zach. So I'm trying hard not to do that. I just forget sometimes. So I apologize, Tony and Kyle, if I did that again. But I get so excited. This is he could. I know it seems impossible, but he could have a very similar career to what we just saw at the center spot for West Virginia. Now that's a lot. I know that's putting a lot on him. Let's let the kid get into school and see what he's made of and what he can do. But I won't be shocked if Kyle not only wins the job next year, but plays at a really, really high level. Go turn on the tape and watch him dominate 4 and 5 star players at the Under Armour American All American game. Ugh, it's a tongue tie. The Under Armour All American game. He absolutely, and I mean dominated. I'm not talking about he played well against. He dominated 4 and 5 star players to the point to where they had to add another star to his thing and admit they were wrong about him this entire time. And to the point to where the director of scouting decided to put an article out about him after the fact, saying, "Oh my God, this guy has gotten so much better. He's calling him a potential NFL player now before he's ever played snap." So, I mean, it's really exciting, you know. So that's why I put Day Farmer not to be below him at as far as recruiting goes. If you guys can't tell, I spent a lot of time uh, looking at this stuff. That's why we do the show. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate that. He said you've come a long way, brother, and proud of you as well. Appreciate that. Pac 12 players will not have prime exposure. Good point, Edward. Chemistry will play it big, and all the new guys, it's all about who's buying in. Absolutely. John Kristovich, how we doing, brother? That is really great news. Having a really good offensive line. Yes, it is Timothy Green. Our running game will depend a lot on how well we do. Absolutely, polar bear hunting. They're going to have a nice year coming up. Absolutely. So, is the guy for me. And then if you want to talk about another one, we'll go Day Farmer. You know, I compare Day Farmer, and I always just stick with former Mountaineers because we all can remember Day Farmer looks really similar to Stedman Bailey when he was kind of a Miramar High School in Miramar, Florida. Uh, he's got hands made of glue. He's extremely dynamic in the return game. His cut ability is it's better than in high school, especially it's better than Stebbins was. It leans towards Tavon. It's not as good as Tavon. You don't find people that cut like Tavon. I still don't understand why he didn't do better in the league. Size had a lot to do with it, but anyway, it's off topic. In the open field, nobody in my life, I've still never seen, maybe five players ever cut better than Tavon. So, but he is he's cut from that kind of cloth. So he's a very good open field cutter. And so Day Farmer is extremely impressive to watch. He's better than any receiver we brought in last year, in my opinion, in the high school ranks. And I know a lot of people love Ryan Gallagher, but I'm just talking about from a route running and cutting standpoint, he's well ahead. So, and then Brandon Raymond from St. Joe's Prep, who obviously we've got a lot of good players out of there. Come to Morgantown. Hopefully, we get to see Josiah Trotter this year. Obviously James Hurd was another one that we lost that would have been good from there. And we got one more, and we've had other visiting from there. But yeah, so I think Raymond's another kid that's really good on offense. He's a straight line kind of receiver, but he's a good player too. Mouth got dry on me. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and put this in the books and get done with this video here. But I'm going to go ahead and nail it in and say West Virginia finishes the season. Let's go 10-2. Preseason, way too early preseason prediction, subject to change based off of transfers in or out. And that includes other teams as well. On our, the people we play could get better too and change the outcome certainly. So as of now, way too early prediction of 10-2. It's subject to change as always. If you guys don't have anything else you really want to talk about, I'm going to eat some dinner before it's too late to eat and just get on in the bed because these allergies are just messing with me today. I'll talk recruiting. I'll talk O line all day. So if you want to do that, holler at me, send me a super chat. Other than that, guys, we're going to be done for the day. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Mountaineer Paul Talk Football. Thank you, Warriors and men, for coming in here at this episode. But it's over. I'm out, fellas. Hit that like button, like Andrew said.